Good evening. Welcome to the gathering at One Spirit. I'm Dr. Susan Corso, and tonight we're going to have a conversation, I hope, about the second chakra and how to shift from a focus on money to a focus on wealth. Most people, when they think about financial issues, they of course think about money. Anyone, what's the first word that comes up for you when you think about money for yourself? You might want to put that in the chat and let Court tell it to me.
Let's see, we're still waiting for save. Lynn says save, Eileen says fear.
Amen to that, whoever said that.
I can say I had one green. Leslie says mysterious.
Lovely, lovely. Money is certainly a curiosity in our lives, right? I mean, if anyone had ever told you that you would be afraid of small round coins like subway tokens and index cards, you would tell them that they were crazy. But that's essentially what money is pieces of paper and small round coins.
A couple more have come in.
Yep.
Abundance from Louise, and also Susie says abundance.
Abundance indeed. So the reason we're going to talk about the second chakra is that money issues tend to land in the body in the second chakra, and that's right below your belly button. You might want to put your hand there. Right below your belly button. That's where people tend to feel fear about money. They tend to feel tension, you know, that tightening of, uh-oh, what do we do now, kind of around money. So I think that over the years, as I have worked with people through medical intuition, I was the head of spiritual and energy medicine at Visions Healthcare in Dedham. And in 40 years of counseling people on this particular subject, that there are ways to work with money that completely change your relationship to it. And the first task relative to finances in anybody's life is to switch from thinking about it as money and move to thinking about it as wealth.
Miss Susan, two more things came in. Leslie mentioned poverty and trauma.
Yep, all of those things are related to finances. So the idea of switching from money to wealth brings into play several things, because when you are thinking about not enoughness, usually it shows up in one of three places in a person's life. Not enough shows up as not enough money, not enough time, and not enough love. One way or another. But I would submit to you that there not only is enough time, but there is enough money and there is enough love, if we can teach ourselves to think about it in a way that the world teaches us not to think about it, right? We're taught to value ourselves based on the money we earn a lot of times. And maybe so, maybe no, it doesn't really matter. What matters is shifting the conversation to actual wealth. Think about a beach. What if money was actually sand, right? You're on a beach. Well, then you're infinitely wealthy. What if money were, I'm in the Northeast, leaves falling from trees right now? There would be plenty of wealth. So there's a process whereby you learn or can learn to think about wealth instead of money. But the first piece of it is to walk away from the social and cultural projection on all of us as users. Think about this. We weren't in the computer age, we were named as users. We have user ID, right? And what do we also have that comes with users? We have drug use. We have substance use, right? We have a terrible, terrible addiction problem in our country anyway, and on our planet really, because we have allowed ourselves to be thought of as users. I'm not a user. I don't want to use you. I hope you don't want to use me. When you think about that, we talk about other people using one another, and it's said with rejection and a little bit of disgust, is it not? I don't want to, I can't just be, useful one to the other, right? Utility is not a measure of wealth, nor is it a measure of your being. Your being is a much bigger thing than its usefulness. So first and foremost, I would suggest that we get out from under the notion that we are users and we return to the notion that we are beings. That's your task. You were named a human being, and your first task is to be what you are and to grow further into what you're meant to be. That's what we're all doing here. That's everybody's purpose, as far as I'm concerned. Now, it can get more specific in terms of venue, but overall, your cosmic purpose is to grow. So what I've discovered about the chakras is this. Each chakra comes with a divine gift. The word chakra means wheel, and they are centers of energy in your body. And people love to think about them as sort of separate balls of energy that live along your spine. They don't. They live in front of your spine, in the center of your body, like a string from the top of your head to your feet, right? And they interact one with the other. And the purpose of the chakras is to monitor and manage and help you monitor and manage the 12th system of the human body. Did you know that anatomically there are 11 systems that are taught in medical school? 11, but 11 doesn't make any sense if you know anything about mystical numbers. You know that a human being should have 12, like the 12 tribes of Israel, for example, right? 12 months of the year. Well, the 12th energy system is the human energy system, and you learn to manage it by becoming sensitive to your own chakras in your body. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. It's so logical. We're not taught to think about this. We're not encouraged to think about this. But having worked with people who were seriously ill for years and years and years, and finally understanding that energy is never static. You can take a picture of energy or of an aura, like in Kirlian photography. You can take a picture of a person's life in a tarot card spread, right? But it's a picture of a moment. In the next moment, things are going to be different because everything is in motion all the time. There's no such thing as stasis, right? That's why, this balance business, work-life balance, right? We talk about, no, you're going to work too much sometimes. You're going to play too much sometimes. You're going to live too much sometimes. You're going to work too much sometimes. And it goes back and forth, right? It's never static, like the Tai Chi, the black and white symbol. So the gift that comes with the second chakra in the human body is passion. And sure, sexual passion, but I would take it to a much bigger place than that. The gift in the second chakra is passion for things about your life. So for me, for example, I'm a novelist. I have 13 novels out, and I'm in the middle of my 14th one right now, right? And 153,000 words in, which is very exciting. And one of my passions is words. Well, duh, I'm a writer, right? What are your passions? What are the things that light you up when you talk about them? What are the things like, if anybody here is an Outlander reader, Diana Gabaldon's 9th book is coming out on the 23rd of November. And I have already told my spouse, I am not available. I have 900 pages to read and you can just go away. Feed me, fine, but that's it. I'm reading my 900 pages. I waited 4 years for this book, right? He said, okay, no problem. So point being, what are the things that you're passionate about? And they're going to be unique to you no matter what. What are the things that light you up? What are the things that make you think, oh yes, this is why I'm alive. This is so cool. What are the things that you would do? It wouldn't matter if you were paid, if you were not paid, if it cost you. I am a person who, if I don't write something on any given day, I'm not a happy camper. Plain and simple. I need to write every day. It doesn't matter if it's an affirmation, a sentence, a bio, or 2,500 words for a novel. I love to write. I love to read. I love to learn. It doesn't really matter what I'm learning about, but I've spent more time in school since I left school than I did when I was in school, really, right? And I have a fancy degree and all that kind of stuff, but no. I'm learning now, right? This novel I'm writing at the moment takes place in 1897. Well, believe me, I'm reading about the Gilded Age and New York City and what happened and how Tammany worked and all that kind of stuff. And it lights me up, right? These are my passions. You have to know what your own are. I have a friend who, take her to a thrift shop and she is in heaven. Shopping is her thing. Clothes shopping is her thing. My idea of hell is clothes shopping. Cool. Great. She's a size 2. She can fit in anything. That never happened to me in this life. Well, all right. But that's what thrills her, right? I know other people love to do hair, anything they can do with hair. So passions, run the gamut. Some people want to teach, sailing to kids with cerebral palsy. Some people want to teach autistic kids. Some people want to be a dancer or a ballerina or a fire chief or whatever the thing is that makes you go, oh, yes, this is fun. This feels good. That's what comes with your passions. And one of the fastest ways to discover your passions from your second chakra so that you can switch to wealth is by accepting the fact that you came with passion and offering exuberance to other people. So my idea of camping is, staying at the Plaza Hotel. I am not a camper. I'm not interested in that at all. My husband loves to go camping. I say, bye. Knock yourself out. I'll see you when you get home on Sunday after you take a shower, right? That's his thing. He loves that stuff. I don't have to be exuberant about that, except insofar as he loves it. And because he does, I wish to support him in that. That's what exuberance is. But we've all been in a situation where we start to talk about something that we're passionate about, and somebody takes a pin and pokes our balloon. Been there? Oh, yeah, been there. And that's no fun. That's no fun at all, right? Those are the people who are so intent on being miserable that they can't let you have your passion. They can't let you be excited about things, right? Well, yeah, but I mean, my mother used to say there are starving children in Biafra, which is what it was when I was a kid, right? Yes, we just had a good dinner. Thanks. Let's look at the good stuff that is, right? So, okay, I receive passion, and so I give exuberance for the thing that lights you up. Because it's much more important that you get lit up about your passions than that you agree with mine. I know that's a rough one. A lot of people have a hard time, can have a hard time with that. Well, One of the first things that helps you shift into a mindset of wealth is this. Everybody, in one way or another, has taken a vow of poverty. Now, if you are a believer in past lives, then you have been, a monk, a nun, a cleric of some kind, and you have taken a vow of poverty, right? You need to break your vow of poverty if you'd like to live in wealth in this life. Now, if you don't believe in past lives, there's another way we take vows of poverty. We decide that rich people are hateful. I don't want to be thoughtless like those rich people, right? And so we povertize, if you will, ourselves by our own judgments. So there's a very easy way to break a vow of poverty. And I know that you're not going to believe me, but that's okay. You don't have to. Take a piece of paper, write on it, vow of poverty. Carry it around for a whole day. Whole day, like an index card, carried around, vow of poverty, vow of poverty. How am I letting my unwillingness to see wealth all around me stop me from being wealthy? At the end of your day, get very serious with your vow of poverty and take your index card and tear it in half. I break this vow of poverty over myself. No more. No, thank you. That's my prescription for ending karma. Fancy dancy spell work, right? No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't need this belief from my past. And those of us who are deeply spiritual people tend to have vows of poverty and those vows of poverty came to us and we made them willingly because we lived in communities that took care of us. How many of us live in communities that take care of us? I mean, I have a husband who takes care of me and he's quite nice about it, but there's not money flowing from coffers somewhere else. The money that flows in our lives is money we make, right? So believing that to be spiritual requires that we have poverty comes from a belief system in a circumstance that we no longer live in, most of us. So break your vow of poverty. Now, another way to switch to wealth is this. Look at what your family of origin told you about money. One of my mother's favorite things to say was, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, of course, the day I figured out that paper was made of trees, I opened my smart mouth to my mother and said, well, actually, money comes from trees, Mom, because money's made of trees. Paper's made of trees. Well, yes, but what else were you taught? How else are you being loyal to your family of origin in a way that prohibits your wealth today? And are there other ways that you can show your loyalty rather than making financial agreements that you don't wish to be a party to? Because that's not what real wealth is. Now, here's another thing to think about. Most of us have skill hooked to money. It's called a day job, right? I know how to do HR stuff. So I have an HR job in the day and that pays the bills so that I can be a harpist at night, right? And do my music. Well, skill does create money in a life sometimes, but what if you hooked your talent to money as well? So that you could be a harpist and an HR person instead of a harpist or an HR person. And this is another way we deprive ourselves of wealth. We say, well, I have this day gig, and by the time I get home and I've eaten and they put the kids to bed and this and this and this, I don't have any energy anymore. Yeah. But if you were at both and you were recording harp sonatas at night so that you could stream them and people could buy them, well, that would be a way to do it. But it's a both and way. It's not an either or way. Either or is the construct that keeps us in poverty a lot of the time. Either I can be a nice person and poor, or I can be a mean person and rich. Really? Ew. I don't think that's real. I know very nice rich people, and I know very mean poor people. But really what I'm asking is, how are you thinking about this? How are you thinking about this? How are you allowing wealth to infuse your life, right? Because the realm of money is really the realm of wealth. It's not the realm of money, right? How are you wealthy? At the moment, there are 5 screens on my desk for God only knows what reason, but a project that I'm doing is requiring them. I'm wealthy in screens, actually 6. I am wealthy in screens. But did you think of that as wealthy, or do you think about how annoying it is there are 6 screens on your desk, right? It's the way you think about it. And these 6 screens are allowing me to hook talent to money. And that's the key to this, right? Now, the other thing is this. In this realm of wealth, how people actually create wealth, and they do this economically as well, is through investing. What are you investing in? Are you investing in your wealth? How many times have you sat down to pay the bills and held them in your hand and blessed them? Do you know what those bills are? Those bills are people trusting you with services so that you're warm and you have a stove and you have air conditioning and you have a phone and you have cable television and you have the New York Times, or an internet service provider, or whatever the bills are. Those people are trusting you. You thought about that as trust, and what does that mean? Are you wealthy in trust? Perhaps, right? Investing. What you invest in yields results. And unless you invest in things, you don't get results. It's really quite simple, If you really, really, really want to be a ballerina, you're really, really, really got to go to dance class. Otherwise, sitting at home and wishing you had toe shoes is a little silly. You could go to Capezio and buy them, but if you didn't know how to use them, you'd really hurt yourself. Take it from somebody who took ballet for more years than she can count. Right? So, one of the ways we foil our own wealth is by what I call energetic leakages. And those leakages are ways in which we are unclear about money. I was on the phone with a client the other day who's a sculptor, and he said to me that someone had made an offer for a sculpture of his, but it was $1,000 less than the price, the original price. And he said to the dealer, sell it. It only cost me, I don't know, $300, $400, whatever. And I said, stop. I don't know, $300, $400, whatever. It's your business to know. You're in the sculpture business. Why don't you know what it cost? Why aren't you clear? But we don't like to look at those sorts of things, right? We like to be sort of casual about it. But unless we're specific about money, money can't get specific about us. We need specificity when it comes to money. And that means looking at debt. That means owning all of the parts and the responsibilities that go with having money, whatever that is. It doesn't matter if you're managing a multi-million-dollar portfolio or, a checkbook that has your 4 paychecks in it, and that's it. Right? How are you managing your focus with money? And as far as I'm concerned, when you know where you were in the past with money, what you learned from your family with money, right? The conclusions that you've drawn, right? Then you can get into the present about money. What does getting into the present about finances and wealth do? Well, it's having a realistic picture of what's actually going on for you. It's maybe having a plan. It's maybe getting some advice, but it's being current. When the bank statement comes, it doesn't get put in a pile. You balance the checkbook. I balance mine to the penny, but the only reason I do is because I didn't know that you did that until I was 28. No one ever taught me. And I came home from work one day and was crying to my roommate. She said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I bounced a check." She said, "Did you balance your checkbook?" I said, "I don't know. What's that?" She said, "Did you ever turn over a bank statement?" I said, "No. What's on the back of a bank statement?" So at age 28, I learned how to balance the checkbook finally. I bless that woman every single day. And she's the company manager of Wicked on Broadway today. So she knows a little something about Broadway and about money as well. But she put me right into the present with it. How do I get responsible about money, right? You don't get to be la-di-da about it unless it really doesn't matter, right? And if it doesn't matter, then there are going to be consequences that you have to do cleanup with, right? All of us have to do cleanup with money one time or another in our lives. When I was 30, I had this is dramatic, be forewarned, I had a child die the day he was born. It was one of the hardest things that ever happened to me. But much harder was the $500,000 worth of bills that came to us afterward that the hospital told us would be taken care of, right? So we went through medical bankruptcy. It was awful. I mean, it was 1989 and we had $500,000 worth of bills. But we didn't think that we could make that much money in a lifetime. But even so, we went through bankruptcy and we got really real about money. You have to, right? It's like doing your taxes. You have to do your taxes. I mean, you can skip them, but there are consequences to that. There are consequences to being not specific about money. Certainly, I have loaned friends money and not been clear about the terms of that loan, and then ended up in a bit of a mess. Anybody else? Learned that the hard way. I did, right? Okay. So one of the things that happens when you stop being a user, when you stop thinking of yourself as a user, when you stop being a user, when you stop behaving like a user, right, is you get in the flow of reciprocity. Reciprocity is the Buddha's word, actually, for the law of karma. What goes around comes around, right? Or the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? So, okay, I receive passion. Because I receive passion, I give others exuberance. There's reciprocity right there, right? Because I give others exuberance, I have an entree into the realm of wealth. Because I have enough energy, enthusiasm, care, and awareness that supporting others is good for me as well as for them, that it creates exchange and circulation. And the greatest mistake everybody makes about money is hoarding. Holding on to money because you're afraid only makes it drain away from you faster. So how can you feel like you have a lot of money? How can you feel wealthy? How can you feel like you actually have things to invest? What if you had all these errands to run one day and all you decided to do was invest a smile in every person who caught your eye? And you thought about it as investment. I can guarantee you that amazing things would happen to you. But because we don't think of that as investment, we don't think of that as reciprocity, we don't think of that as giving, we don't see it coming back immediately. You know, what goes around comes around, it really does, but not always from the same place. What goes around comes around, but the day that you know, somebody knocks on your door and says, oh my God, I have unexpected company. Do you have a new toothbrush I can give them? And you give them the toothbrush. You don't want somebody knocking on your door in 2 hours and giving you a toothbrush. You might not need someone to walk your dog, right? Reciprocity comes around in the way you need it, not the way you give it necessarily. So you go around smiling to everybody in your neighborhood, and that's very, and determining that you are going to talk to every person you interact with, right? To the kid in the pet store, and to the dry cleaner, and to the cashier at D'Agostino's, and you're going to talk to every single one of those people and see them as human beings, see them as see it as a way to give of your wealth, to invest in them. So what happens when you stop being a user is that your life stops being transactional. What happens when you stop being a user is that your life stops being transactional. You give for the sake of giving, because it feels good, because it makes you feel wealthy, because it makes you joyous, because it makes you understand that you are a part of this magical world that we live in, because it's a way of investing. And if you want other people to invest in you, the fastest way to make that happen is to give it to other people and invest in them. And if all you're investing is your energy, your smile, your support, your listening, your care, did you hear any financial transaction there? None. But people are blessed, and then blessing begins to flow back to you. When life stops being transactional, it starts being discoverable. So when you look at everything that you're experiencing as an opportunity for discovery, for curiosity, then everything in the world is interesting. And interesting is an interesting word, because when you invest in something fiscally, what happens? What happens to you? You earn interest, right? Yeah. So when you pay interest, you get interest back. I think that if we were taught as children that everything in the world has reciprocity to it. I mean, we are taught that. It's called to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, right? That's called a law of science. That's one of Newton's law of motions, I think. Don't hold me to it. It was a long time ago when I took science class, and I haven't learned a lot about it since. But bottom line, what if everything you did for a whole week was investment? The investment of your energy, of your care, of your focus into other people and the things that made them feel alive. What if you actually looked at your own life as an investment? A lot of us don't, you know. We're like on this treadmill, running away, running and running and running and running. Whoa, 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 wait. There is a gift given to human beings in the scripture. In fact, there are two in the Hebrew Bible. The first one is the life force. Something is animating you right now. Something is growing bone marrow cells. Something is growing your eyelashes. You are not thinking about those things. And if you were having to think about those things, as well as beat your heart and respire your lungs and work the elimination system and figure out skin and grow hair, and you'd be really tired. Really tired. But you don't have to do any of that. Yes, sir?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that there's a question from Patricia. She says, I'm unclear how this applies to self-employment. I offer a service in exchange for a fee. Are you suggesting give generously of my time, energy, and skills without charging a fee? I'm sure
No.
you're saying that, but can't see how to apply the principles you're talking about.
Understood. I also am self-employed, for what that's worth. I am a person who counsels people and have for 40 years on things like we're talking about today. And no, I'm not suggesting at all that you not charge a fee. I'm suggesting that you come to what you are offering with a generous heart. And not to overgive, not to overcompensate, but to look at it as investment in them and to expect investment not directly from them, although they should pay you, right? But instead to understand that investment will come back to you in other ways, right? This isn't about having a job. This is about a way to approach life so that you live in wealth all the time. And sometimes wealth is, you know, a new frame for a picture that you got for your birthday, which happened to me this week, right? And sometimes wealth is an unexpected $800 in the mail. Wealth can come in all kinds of forms. So it's not just the realm of work. It's the mindset with which you approach everything. And I only have a picture of your face, Patricia. I think that's you. So if that's helpful, or if you have a further question, I'm happy to answer it. Okay.
You know what, she may not be able to unmute, so I just gave her the ability to unmute in case she wants to. She said that's helpful. So she in the chat, she said that's helpful.
Good, because it's across the board. It's completely across the board. What if wealth is something you never even thought of before? I use jigsaw puzzles to meditate. I can't sit still and just be quiet. I need something to look at. Oh, well, what can I tell you? So I use jigsaw puzzles and I say a prayer with every piece I put in. It grounds me. I get all kinds of guidance when I do it. I have wealth in jigsaw puzzles like you wouldn't believe. People send them like unexpectedly out of nowhere to me because they know that it pleases me. And so they find a beautiful one and they send them to me, right? Well, so I have wealth there. Well, you wouldn't think of jigsaw puzzles as being wealth for most people, but they are for me, right? Someone in one of these rooms where you are has either lots of CDs behind themselves or lots of books behind themselves, but it doesn't really matter. There's wealth right there. I can see it, right? And that's magical. Look around the room that you're in right now. What have you got that tells you that you're living in wealth? And it's not things you have necessarily. It's the way things make you feel. You feel expanded. You don't have that tummy pain, you know? Also, Court, you have to tell me what that says. Someone is talking.
Yes. So Mackenzie says also, if you don't charge for your services, they are giving nothing to the experience and will get nothing out of it. It has to be an energy exchange, but shift the state of mind from fear, desire, etc., to wealth, love, abundance.
And you're not going to get it 100% right all the time. Okay, te absolvo. You're not going to get it right all the time, right? You are going to be afraid about money occasionally. I'm here to tell you something, honestly. Jeff Bezos is afraid about money sometimes, right? He's probably more afraid than I am because he doesn't have to think about it. I at least have had to think about it in my life, right? People get afraid about money. What do? Switch to wealth. Where am I wealthy? Right now, this minute, where am I wealthy? Start with that. And it's a lovely idea that you can switch from fear to wealth just like that. And I suppose, excuse me, in the best of all possible worlds, you can. Well, there's a little magical thinking for you. Woof, somebody just said. Was that Lucy?
Sorry about that. Yes, that was my dog. I apologize.
I happen to know Lucy. So this business of owning where you're afraid and then changing your mind, right? You received the gift of life. All of you, all of us received the gift of life, but we also received the gift of dominion. Dominion only operates in one place. We like to think that it operates in the world and that we have control over the things outside us. We don't. Here is where dominion lives, between your own ears. Nobody else's. Dominion lives between your own ears. And that's all. So you get to change your mind when you are afraid. You get to change the story when you were afraid, right? Here's the way you do it, right? You get yourself caught in fear and you say, what if I were wealthy? What if I told this story as if I were wealthy? What would that story look like? What if I told this story as though I were generous? What if I told this story as though I were magical? What if I told this story as though I lived a charmed life? What if I told this story in some different way? And it doesn't really matter what different way, as long as it moves the needle for you around fear. There's nothing wrong with fear except that we're afraid of it. Fear is an early warning system. That's all it is. Right? It's like an alarm on your phone. It says, hey, there's a hurricane coming. You might want to walk into the basement. Right? That's all fear is. We make such a big deal out of it. We shouldn't be afraid. We shouldn't be mad. Wow, I know all kinds of people who are mad as hell about money. Okay. At least you have some feelings. Mad as hell about wealth. Mad as hell about taxes. Right? Wow. Good. Work through those. Own them. Work through them. Be grateful for the feelings. Because I'm going back to the beginning, right? Because you receive passion. You receive passion as a divine gift. That allows you to be exuberant and give that exuberance to other people. That's what makes you wealthy. The reciprocity of those two things. Passion, exuberance, passion, exuberance, passion, exuberance makes you wealthy. And you get wealthier by investing. And it doesn't matter what you invest. Mother Teresa said, peace begins with a smile. Start. Smile right now, right there. There you go. Let's start peace. Let's start wealth. Let's smile about wealth. Why not? Right? There's magic in the world available to you. Part of it is how you think about things. And it's so completely necessary to think through your feelings, particularly negative ones about wealth. Bottom line, right? What you're looking to do is transact less and discover more. Go on a walk tomorrow. Wherever you are, go on a walk, discover things, discover 3 things that you hadn't seen before. You probably are walking on streets you walk on all the time, right? Discover 3 new things. Do it again the next day. Discover 3 other ones. We don't take the time to go deep much anymore, but real investment is deep. Real investment takes time. Real investing is thinking through why you're doing what you're doing. It's going through those negative emotions to what's really under them. It's telling yourself different stories. And the big secret to it is both and instead of either or. We love to make the world about either or. You know, our whole world is based on polarity. That's not new information, right? Dark night, dark light, day, night, right? Salt, pepper. They're opposites to everything. What we have done is we have taken polarity, we in the West, and made it so tense that we now have polarization. But the whole world is based on polarity, right? There's gravity and then there's posture. All the same, right? So how do you work within the polarity? Well, you own both ends of it for yourself. It's both and. Okay, I'm afraid about that bill coming in 2 days, and I live in a wealthy world. How can I solve this? What might that look like? What miracle could I imagine? What story could I tell? Oh, and you wouldn't have believed it. That same day, somebody who owed me the exact same amount of money mailed it to me, and I got it. You don't know. But instead, we get entrenched in old beliefs about money and finance, and then we wonder why things aren't changing. Yes, sir.
We have a question from Louise. Louise asks, how do you think about gratitude in the creation of wealth abundance?
Gratitude, my belief about gratitude is that it needs to be your default for everything, right? Like even when things are happening that you don't like happening, here you are stuck in traffic, you're running out of gas, you have to pee, you don't know what to do, right? Thank you. I say, thank you for cutting me off on the highway. Thank you, right? Because something shifts when I shift my resistance to gratitude. So what gratitude does is it opens flow, right? The minute you've got the brakes on, well, what do brakes do, team? They stop things. Take your foot off the brake psychically and switch to gratitude. Gratitude is thank you. I don't care. Thank you for this breath in. Thank you for this index finger. Thank you for this middle finger. I don't care how small. Thank you for this piece of hair. Thank you for this piece of hair. It'll keep you busy, right? It will entertain you, but it will also move you into flow and out of resistance, right? Thank you for literally. One of the things it says in, oh gracious, it might be Colossians, but don't hold me to this, right? In all things, give thanks. There's something magical in that. You know what the magical thing is? It's not for all things. You don't have to be grateful that you're running out of gas and you're in bad traffic and you have to pee. You have to be grateful that you're alive, that you can be in resistance. Thank you for this resistance. I let it go. Right? Learn the Demi Lovato version of the song from Frozen, Let It Go, which is the dance version, and dance it out. Let it go for real. It's an act of will, letting things go. That's what dominion is. Dominion is will. It's free will. But most of us live based on free won't. Right? You won't hear that from anybody else. I'm the only theologian who talks about this, right? Free won't. Right? Which is what you don't want, not what you do want. right? Thank you for moving this traffic. Thank you for clearing the traffic jam. Thank you for easing my bladder a little bit. Thank you for making sure that we don't run out of gas in the middle of an 8-lane highway. That would be awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you can just make fun of yourself. Gratitude is a tool to use at all times. It's like a crowbar to get you out of fear. And it works. It totally works. I want to tell everybody that I'm writing a series of 8 workbooks on this kind of chakra work that will take you through this specific process, one for each chakra. They should be out in the next probably 3 or 4 months. And I'm designing a deck of cards to use with this kind of work as well. What I have discovered is that chakra work is the way that we learn to manage our own human energy system. And that's how we have integrity. Energy integrity is knowing that you don't have to be thrown by the people around you. You don't have to be knocked on your pins by the person who's condescending to you. You don't have to be upset because nobody has access to your energy except the people you give access to. And it's not that complicated, but it's something that we're not taught at all. Yes,
Susan,
sir.
we have another question from Lynn. Can you sum up the process? I think in the beginning you mentioned that there are 3 steps to the process. The first step you mentioned was about moving away from user mentality.
Right. So actually, there's a worksheet, and if you want to email me and ask for it, I can email you back, right? The worksheet. So I'm happy to give you that. But what they really are is this: I receive passion, so I give exuberance for wealth by investing. And the way I do that is daily. I transact less and I discover more. Now, there are venues within which you do that. Yes, you stop thinking of yourself as a user. You break your vow of poverty. You figure out what your family of origin told you about money. You get yourself in the present about money and wealth, and you get specific and be responsible. And the last piece of it is this. Okay, what if you could have any kind of wealth you wanted, every kind of wealth you wanted? What do you see for yourself in the future? What kind of wealth, what kind of investments are you willing to make in the wealth that you choose for your life?
Susan, Julie says, thank you, such helpful information. There's a question from Cameron. How do you overcome the fear of wealth when you're in possession of a John Lennon signature, like not letting go?
At court, say the question again, please.
Sure. How do you overcome the fear of wealth when you're in possession of a John Lennon signature, like not letting go?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but if I understood it correctly.
Just ask Cameron to maybe unmute you want to explain, Cameron?
Yes, hi there. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Yes, I'm in the position of a John Lennon signature, but I have a fear of letting it go to sell it and things like that. I don't have the fear. I don't know. I'm just probably fear of the wealth that I can create from it.
Okay, very good question, right? Fear of wealth is the fear of your own expansion. Like, what if I can't contain it? What if, for example, I had a signature of John Lennon and I decided to auction it off and it brought me $100 million? It probably wouldn't bring you $100 million, but let's make it that outrageous.
Sure.
Okay. Well, the first thing you do is you write down $100 million and you decide how you would start to give it away, right? So that you would be in control of it and it would not be in control of you.
Okay.
So if it were me, I would tithe $10 million off the top. So that means I would have to find charities, not-for-profits, things I believed in in my particular case, it would all be queer organizations and queer writers, right? I would fund Lambda Literary to the tune of $1 million. I would fund AIDS research because dear friends of mine are HIV positive. I would fund artists opportunities. I would create artist in residence situations. I would create scholarships. So first of all, figure out how you would give away 10% of it. So now you have $90 million. Well, you might pay off your mortgage. You might pay off your mom's mortgage, maybe, right? Or maybe not your mom, maybe your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your poodle, right? Like, how would you, like, if for real, how would you spend that money? Would you get a facelift? I wouldn't, right? But some people might, right? Like what, or would your best girlfriend want a facelift and would you pay for that? Like really, really, really imagine spending it. What would that look like? And if it were me, I would take the last set of checks from the last old checkbook I had and I'd start to write the checks out. That would thrill me no end. I would stick them up on the wall. Okay, $10 million to this one, $10 million to that one. Absolutely. That would thrill me no end. So my real piece of advice here is have fun. Have fun, for heaven's sake. You don't even have to sell it. You can just have the fun without selling it, right?
True.
And the fear of wealth is the fear that you will be irresponsible. So how would you set up accountability, relationships so that you spent it responsibly? Would you bring, a financial advisor, a spiritual advisor, and a dear friend together and have like a committee and you would all vote? You would talk about it. What about this? What about that? Would you give the Metropolitan Museum $10 million? Maybe not. Maybe the Met doesn't need it. But maybe, the Tenement Museum in Southern Manhattan needs it, right? They're redoing all their exhibits right now to actually include the Black people who lived in the tenements. Awesome. Let's support that. Let's give Black Lives Matter some money. Right? Maybe some, I might, because the midterms are coming, give some political contributions, which I would never do usually. But if I had that kind of money, hell to the yes, I'd do that. Right? So what would be the fun thing? That's how you start to loosen up the thought that it would hurt you. Right? And you got to start trusting yourself, Buster. Look in the mirror and tell yourself you're trustworthy for $100 million. Who knows? Somebody might walk up to you and hand it to you. Yes, Court.
Dr. Corso, it's 8 o'clock. I just wanted to give you a time check.
Thank you. My apologies for keeping everybody a little bit extra. Thank you so much for coming and spending this time with me. And please, if you want the worksheet, write to me, Susan@SusanCorso.com. And if you'd like to know when the workbooks or the cards are coming out, write the same, Susan@SusanCorso.com. A great blessing upon your wealth journey, my friends. Thank you, Court, for your help.
My pleasure, my honor.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.